So what is Section 2 of Kentucky's Constitution? So the Bill of Rights are the first 26 sections of Kentucky's Constitution. 26 section says that the general powers are subordinate to the Bill of Rights. So these Bill of Rights, these first 25 sections, are the strongest rights in Kentucky. They're the ones that dominate the rest of the entire Constitution. Okay? So that's Section 26. So Section 2 is absolute and arbitrary power over the lives, liberty, and property of free men exists nowhere in a republic, not even in the largest majority. What's the 12th section? Section 12 of Kentucky's Bill of Rights. Indictment offense not to be prosecuted by information. No person for an indictable offense shall be proceeded against criminally by information only, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia when in actual service in time of war or public danger, by leave of court for oppression or misdemeanor in office. So you need a grand jury. You need a grand jury in order to indict you for a felony. Or for treason. Treason against Kentucky. What would it take to be treasonous against Kentucky? No. So Section 13, double jeopardy. Yeah, so Kentucky Constitution. There's 26 sections of it. I was going to make actually flashcards. That's the way you can memorize all 26 sections. So the question I'd asked before, what are the redundant freedoms under the United States and under the Kentucky Bill of Rights? Kentucky's Bill of Rights and the United States Constitution, they both get freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of press, right to own property, to protect it, right to peacefully assemble, right to petition, right to protest, right to bear arms, right to trial by jury, to face your accusers, to subpoena witnesses, freedom from search and seizure without a signed warrant by a judge, right to a speedy public trial by impartial peers, no double jeopardy, eminent domain is legal with just compensation for public services, a right to bail, no cruel and unusual punishment. So those were the commonalities between Kentucky's Constitution and the United States. Even though they're redundant, some were redundant, which is good, because if you have the freedom, the right to speak by the United States Constitution and Kentucky's Constitution, then it should be a fucking just a super powerful law, because you got two constitutions who protects your right to speak. You know, and Kentucky's got two sections. One says you can speak your opinions and your thoughts freely, and the other one's a right to the press. So you're allowed to have a blog, you're allowed to type whatever you want to type to anybody. So there's two freedom of speech amendments or sections in Kentucky's Bill of Rights, and whereas there's only one, well, I guess there's the press, but that's all in the First Amendment. So that's, you know, so which freedoms does Kentucky Bill of Rights add to all of them? So they're not all redundant. You actually get more freedoms with Kentucky's Constitution. What are these freedoms? Well, Section 2 is arbitrary and absolute power is denied. So actually that destroys all hierarchical relationships. Anybody that tries to say they have power over somebody else, and usually it's absolute power, do as I say because I said so, well, that's arbitrary, that's absolute, fuck you. The Section 2 of Kentucky's Constitution says you're in breach of the law. And it says absolute and arbitrary power over the lives, over the property, over the liberty of others. So not only is it our lives and our liberty, but also our property. So this is my thing, and you cannot have any power over my thing. It's my thing, so it's mine, so it's not yours. Section 3 is the right to revoke corporate charters. So any charter that the state of Kentucky issue, they can amend it, they can alter it, they can abolish it. McDonald's, we don't fucking like what you're doing, get the fuck out of here. Walmart, charter, goodbye, see you later. IBM, Fanta, any of Prescott Bush's companies, any of them associated with Nazi Germany, adios, amigos, see you later. So that's another freedom that's in addition to the America's Constitution. So let's review Section 2. We get absolute and arbitrary power denied. So that means anywhere of any type of hierarchy, I do as I say, fuck you. Section 2 says I don't have to do a fucking thing you tell me to do. Section 3 is a right to revoke corporate charters. So that's another freedom that you have. Fuck you, corporations. That's Section 3 of Kentucky's Constitution. Section 4 is a right to violently overthrow the government in order to protect, just to get the quote down right, the people's peace, safety, happiness, and protection of property. So the peace, safety, happiness, protection of property, the American people or the Kentucky people are allowed to overthrow their government in order to get peace, safety, happiness, protection of their property. Section 6 is free and equal elections. So all elections have to be free and equal. Section 9, juries decide libel cases, not the judge. The truth is an acceptable defense of libel. So juries are the ones that are going to decide what libel is a libel, not the judge. Section 12 says that all cases indicted for felonies need to be brought before the grand jury. So Section 12, all felonies that are indictable need to be brought to the grand jury. Grand jury's first, and then if they think there needs to be a trial, then it goes on to the next section. Section 14, the right of judicial remedy by the courts. So the right of judicial remedy, anytime anybody fucks with your land or property, anything that has value, you have a right to go through the courts and get just remedy. And that's Section 14. And actually, that's such a powerful one. I want to read it out loud to the world. A right of judicial remedy for injury, speedy trial. Section 14 of Kentucky's Constitution. All courts shall be open, and every person for an injury done him in his lands, goods, person, or reputation shall have remedy by due course of law and right and justice administered without sale, denial, or delay. So if you have anybody that wrongs you in your goods, lands, person, or reputation, so if they hit you, they hurt you, even your reputation, that's what libel's about. But anything that's done to your lands, your property, your goods, your person, and your reputation. So anytime anybody does anything to those things, you can go to the court, file a complaint, and then there should be something should happen. That complaint should facilitate a string of events which something happens, and it should be codified in the law, and that should always be the thing that happens, so that way it's fair and honest for everybody. So that's Section 14. Section 18 is you can never go to prison for debt. If you owe somebody $1 billion, they cannot put you in prison. So a lot of people that came to Georgia during America's Revolution, during that time period, they were a bunch of debtors. People getting out of debtors' prisons because they couldn't pay for their shit, so they were being thrown in prison because they were in debt. And but Kentucky's Constitution, the Section 18 says that no matter how much debt you get in, you can never go to prison for that debt. You can put yourself up for bankruptcy. Creditors take what they must, but then they have to let you go on about your life. They cannot fuck with you for the rest of your life. They cannot make you their slave. They can't make you their bitch. If you fucked up, then you declare bankruptcy. I think once every 7 years you're allowed to declare bankruptcy, and then that's just the way it is. You can't put somebody in prison because they owe you $1 or 12 or $1 million. You can't put them in prison. No, Section 21 is the right to commit suicide with no punishment. So that's good for Hunter S. Thompson. Good for anybody that owns property and didn't want all that shit taken away because they're guilty of murder. And so yeah, there's right there Section 21. You got a right to commit suicide, and Kentucky will not punish you. Your stuff will go to your kids just like the law, just as if you had died naturally. So jump off a bridge, have a heart attack at 84, it doesn't matter. When you die, you die. Then your stuff will be distributed. I would assume even a homicide would probably be the same if you were killed. So why wouldn't your inheritance go, unless it was by somebody who, then that would be fraud, right? That would be inheritance fraud. Section 22, standing armies are prohibited unless General Assembly says otherwise. So standing armies are prohibited. You cannot have a standing army in Kentucky unless the General Legislature, the General Assembly allows for it. So Section 23 is no hereditary nobility. The Section 23 is amazing. And I see another section which I didn't put out because it was too confusing. Section 22, it's so freaking confusing. It's alright, Section 22. So no, that's section 22 is the standing armies. There's one, maybe section 20. Yes, section 20 is so fucking confusing. No person shall be attainted of treason or felony by the General Assembly, and no attainder shall work corruption of blood, nor except during the life of the offender or forfeiture of estate to the Commonwealth. Section 20. That's weird. Section 23 is no hereditary nobility. So, the General Assembly shall not grant any title of nobility or hereditary distinction, nor create any office, the appointment of which shall be for a longer time than a term of years. So, no, you cannot make an office that's there forever. So, you can't say the King of Kentucky. You can never have a King of Kentucky. You can never officially create the King of Kentucky, Queen of Kentucky, Princess of Kentucky, Prince of Kentucky. None of the monarchy, none of the fucking chess pieces will ever be here in Kentucky. You can have some sort of fucking beauty pageant and call yourself the Queen of Kentucky, but you cannot have something in government actually specifically saying that the title, the person is the King of Kentucky, even if it's like some plaything for a fucking day. For a day you're king. Nope. Section 23 right here says no office of nobility or hereditary distinction. King is definitely nobility. Hereditary distinction, once you have one king, what Adolf Rupp's kids are probably fucking well taken care of, right? So that fucking racist white supremacist fucker, he gets all their kids taken care of and shit, but you know what happens to the black players that play for Rupp? He's in fucking prison for the rest of his goddamn life, and you better not throw that up, you know, because you'll be the one that has to clean it up. The General Assembly shall not grant any title of nobility or hereditary distinction, nor create any office, the appointment of which shall be for a longer time than a term of years. You can't have a lifetime appointment, King of Kentucky. You can have, I mean, Muhammad Ali is clearly the greatest of Kentucky, so that's the greatest isn't nobility. The greatest is just talent-wise and smart, you know, just genius. He's just the greatest, hands down. It's the fucking greatest, man. So it's not, he's not the king, he's the fucking greatest. Just all around greatest. Right to immigrate out of the state at any time. You could just fucking leave Kentucky at any time. And right to not be enslaved ever. Slavery and involuntary servitude in this state are forbidden except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted. Section 25, slavery and involuntary servitude are forbidden. So that's the rights that you actually get more so out of Kentucky Constitution than what you do with the American Constitution. So Kentucky Constitution is badass in that sense. So we actually expand our powers. It's good to know about our Constitution, the actual words in the Constitution, as well as how it's interpreted today, and also its history, to see where it came from and can we do anything about it. If it's a bunch of trash, can we change it? Can we have another Constitution? Can we have another Constitution convention? Is that possible? Probably not. You know, it was hard. It has to be codified. So it's like you're asking the people who made this Constitution, can we set up an entire fucking organization to rip this Constitution to pieces and rewrite it? And honest people actually would have a mechanism for that to happen, an easy mechanism, not something that's impossible. So far, it's been impossible in Kentucky to get it. It's 1891, so it's been here for 121 years. 1891 or 24 years, 123 years. So 24 of the 26 sections of Kentucky's Bill of Rights comes directly out of the Pennsylvania Constitution of 1790. So 24 of 26 sections. I went ahead and counted them, each one of them up, and it's 24 or 26. The only two that were not mentioned, that did not have some type of wording in the Pennsylvania Constitution of 1790, was Section 2, which was the absolute and arbitrary power is denied against anybody's property, which is the 1850 Constitution, where the fucking slavers wanted to keep their property, so they threw that in there. And then Section 25 is 1891. Section 25 was added about the slavery and involuntary servitude is forbidden. They already had the 13th Amendment passed way before then, so they didn't need it, but it was just to make sure they wanted to get black people. Supposedly it says they wanted to get black folks to be in support of the Constitution. So if they had, I guess they had a right to vote. There was, I think, W.E.B. Du Bois that said that Kentucky had the right to vote from 1792 to 1799. So there was 7 years when black folks had the right to vote according to the Constitution, but whether they did or not, people might not have considered them citizens. And in the 1799 Constitution, they actually had to add that free black men could not vote. So the 1799 Constitution actually turned out to be a regression of the rights that had been granted, the so-called progressive rights of the first one. So very few progressive rights in any of these documents. They're pro-slavery, pro-indentured servitude, and yeah, so more carrying on.